So I recently made a video about how law firms can look at implementing AI within their practice and frankly, whether they even need it or not at this point in time. And I felt like it needed a follow-up because I gave some practical information about how not to fall in the trap of implementing an AI tool that no one winds up using within your firm. But I'd like to tell you the affirmative side of things, what to actually do and how you can actually select the proper tool. So I've written pretty extensively about this, and I even spoke last year at ClioCon about this exact topic. So if you're wondering whether your firm could even benefit from AI, or you're just unsure which activities would be suitable, then this video is for you. I'm gonna break down my Leverage AI framework to give you the 6 steps that you need in order to go from complete confusion to clarity when it comes to AI in your law firm. So first, before you begin looking at any tools, you must identify the constraint in your legal services model, AKA the task or set of tasks that is currently causing friction or dysfunction that could potentially be served by implementing AI functionality. Now, the way you need to look at this is that AI can only be productively used in one of 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, the faster approach. There's some activity that's presenting a time challenge for your firm. It's taking longer than it needs to, or you're having clients request discounts or write-offs when that particular activity is involved. Or scenario 2, which is the more approach. Your firm, the courts, or your clients, they require a more extensive, robust output than what you're currently capable of delivering. So this is the framing that is most productive when you're considering whether AI makes sense for your firm. You start here. So let's take, for example, a firm who has a frequent problem with responding to discovery requests. When the firm pulls financial reports and then analyzes the data, there's a clear correlation between matters that require drafting discovery request timelines and clients that request discounts. So although the firm might be billing for this task technically on the front end, the final invoice frequently has a discount applied when this activity is involved. So it doesn't make financial sense for the firm to continue to do this task. Although this is a task that is important and needs to be completed in order to move the matter forward. So this would represent a limiting constraint, which lines up with the L, the first letter in the Leverage AI framework. So once you've done this, you're ready to move on to the V, which stands for variance allowed. Now, as you're probably already aware of, generative AI is underpinned by large language models. These are probabilistic models that simply take a source input and predict the next most logical word until it's constructed an entire sentence. This is the underlying technology for all generative AI platforms. So because of this probabilistic nature, the output is never deterministic. So in other words, you are not guaranteed the same output in relation to the same initial input. So if the task that you are gauging for AI suitability does not allow for slight variation in the output, then it would not satisfy the conditions of the Leverage AI framework and therefore would not be a suitable task for AI. Next up, we move into the R. It's simple, stands for repeatable. You need to have a repeatable series of steps associated with creating a successful output. This needs to be a documented list of steps. Of course, you cannot automate if you don't have a clear, well-documented list of initial conditions and milestones associated with ultimately completing that particular task. If there is no repeatable process and the task relies primarily on judgment, this would not be a suitable task for AI. Next up, the G stands for goal-oriented. The task in question must have a well-defined endpoint that signals that the task has been successfully completed. If you cannot point to a single event that signals success, then it doesn't pass the Leverage AI test. Move on. Next up, the A stands for associate friendly. Now, the current capabilities of AI, while powerful, are akin to a first-year associate, extremely knowledgeable, but lacking a developed sense of judgment. If the task in question could not be reasonably performed by a first-year associate, then this would invalidate that task. And lastly, I, integratable data. Now, like in the example that I provided before of drafting a discovery request timeline, there's external data that's required in order to successfully complete this task. Most of the time, attorneys will incorporate email correspondence between them and opposing counsel, and they will just detail all of the discovery items that were requested, including interrogatories, and that all ultimately becomes that discovery request timeline. But notice, in order to access those emails, they have to be stored in a way that is easily accessible in a universal repository. So if the task in question does require some sort of external data in order to produce the desired output, then you must ensure that this data is accessible and easily integratable into the AI so that it can use it in order to inform its output. That was a lot. But if you're still with me, if that task has passed every level of the Leverage AI framework, then there's a good chance that this would absolutely be a task that makes sense to seek an AI tool to automate. So now that you have the task, then you can begin looking at platforms that solve for that particular constraint rather than starting with the tool first. As we all know, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Luckily for you, you have your nail, and now it's just time to get that hammer. If you enjoy legal tech tips and information about running a better law practice, make sure to follow me on LinkedIn. Also, go ahead and check out Paragon Tech's YouTube page where we have full-length content just like this video here where we go in depth about legal operations. It's a blast. We'll see you there. Peace.